Good morning, Ulli.
How are you? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Paris. How is everyone? Good. We are starting with the first panel, and I'm very happy that I have three fantastic speakers on stage after many, many years of Corona. It's my first stage, I think, on here in Paris since 2019, I think, or must be like that. So great to be back. My name is Ulli. I'm the channel manager of Myhotelshop. We are running MetaSearch campaigns and digital marketing campaigns for a lot of hotels with you guys, and that's why I'm very happy to have you here on stage to ask you a few questions. And I thought maybe a good way to get started, to make it a little bit fast and easy and smooth, is that I thought it's good to always say who you are, what you do, and then try to introduce your company with 3 words. Mm-hmm. 3 words only. Who was the start? Sherin. You can get started.
Gosh. It's Sherin, by the way.
Sherin.
You should know. We've known each other for like 15 years or something.
I know. Sherin and me go back. We actually worked together at TripAdvisor in 2008. That as far as we go back. We have the longest history.
That's right. And now not with TripAdvisor, but with Trivago. So I've been with Trivago for the past 11 years. And only back actually in my position now as sales and account management since March. So did something else at Trivago for a while, had a baby, and now I'm back. And really
and 3 words for Trivago. Yeah. Explain Trivago in 3 words.
Hotels, price, comparison.
Comparison doesn't count. 3.
Global hotel meta.
Global hotel meta. That's a good one. Best global hotel meta. Okay, I grant you forwards. Okay, thank you. Nonita.
Thank you. That was fun. My name is Nonita Verma. I am at TripAdvisor. I'm the general manager of the hotel solutions there. I have to say I'm very encouraged by the fact that 3 out of 4 people here are TripAdvisor alumni or first, so that's exciting. 3 words for TripAdvisor. I would say trusted. Hotels. I wanted to say hotels first, but that's not true. So I'm just going to keep it at hotels.
True. You have a lot of restaurants by now as well, right?
But also we have OTAs as a very big partner. So I guess it's a diverse stakeholder group. Trusted, hotels, long history.
True. Good point. Nico.
Ulli. Hello, everyone. I'm Nico from Google. Very glad to be here. Thank you for having me and seeing familiar faces and new faces. I think that's the interest of this and Edna. I'm responsible for the strategic partnerships of the travel vertical at Google, based out of Zurich. And if I had to define Google, I would not use the general organize the world information one, but maybe more specific to the industry. That would be a trusted place, trusted to provide information and decision making. So that's what we are about.
Yeah. I would say when you explain Google, maybe in 1 word you could say 4 words. We are the internet, but that's maybe another topic for today.
We can't do it alone. So.
Fair point. I think to kick off the stage a little bit high level, I think it's always good because I think we have a lot of professionals in the room, we have tech players in the room, we have chains in the room, OTAs, and I think everyone knows more or less your business model, should know. Who doesn't know the business model of Google? Right? So no hands up. So I guess it's no point in explaining exactly how you make your money and how you work, but I think it's always important to give a bit of an update on your current product, right? Your latest product innovations, and maybe your key initiatives. So again, in a very short summary, right? So again, what is your core focus within, obviously, of course, around the hotel product? Maybe also, if you want to, a little bit related to other travel products, because I know specifically on TripAdvisor and Google, you do have other travel products in combination. So always good to give maybe a bit of a short, let's say, this is what we do, and this is what our core focus is on, and this is where maybe the next 1 or 2 years go to. And again, maybe Nonita, you want to start?
Sure, thank you. So that's a relatively higher level question. So I would start by saying TripAdvisor is obviously a 2-sided marketplace. On the one hand, we have hotels and other providers on the B2B side, and then of course we have the travelers that are coming to TripAdvisor for guidance, for helping them discover properties that they want to stay at, for helping them book as well. So it's a two-sided marketplace, which basically makes the problem interesting for us, right? We are always trying to fine-tune and improve the outcomes on both sides of this marketplace. So that gives us an opportunity to do several things. In terms of the product suite, I think what's really important to mention is that our solutions kind of layer on top of each other. If you take a hotel's point of view, it really allows you to kind of go across the spectrum and build. So let me take a very quick example, and Ulli, if I'm going too long,
no worries,
just move me over.
Interrupt.
But for instance, if I'm Ulli and Ulli's partner, right, you're looking to maybe spend a month somewhere, you are looking to work and explore a new place. And a lot of people are doing that and benefiting these days from flexibility. So what would you do first? Typically, people come to, say, both Google and TripAdvisor to start their search process, to look for guidance, to maybe hone in on a particular city, etc. So now we are there at that early part, in some ways, of that journey. So at this point, if you're a hotel, what should you be doing? If the city is already defined, you want to be at the top of that list when the person puts in the city. So if Ulli's putting in the city, your hotel in Paris, if it's Paris, should be up top. Sponsored placement allows hotels to do that, right? So there you are increasing visibility. The next step of that whole process, you are visible, but when Ulli clicks on that link, are you providing all of the right information to him to make that decision? Do you have great pictures? Do you allow your facilities to shine? Are you sharing what you're doing to keep him and his partner safe? All of these different aspects, which are very, very critical in decision making right now. How big is the room sometimes? That's important too if you have standardization. So these are critical things. So now that Ulli's convinced, the next step is obviously, what do you do, right? So this convincing part happens on Business Advantage. We allow folks to manage their listing. The next step is allow the booking to happen. So that's obviously both through the direct booking links in BA and SP, as well as the meta links through our OTA partners. And so that booking can happen.
But here I need to ask a bit of controversial question, because when it comes to TripAdvisor, and again, putting myself into the shoes of a hotel, very often I'm a little bit confused by products, right? Because there are a lot of products. And then like you said, there's Business Advantage, SP, your sponsored placement, I think that's it, the typical CPC placement. But then there's also TripAdvisor Plus, which is an OTA product where you ask for discounts that are potentially steeper than my website. And this is sometimes where I feel when customers approach me and say, this is TripAdvisor, what should I do? And it's not that they don't want to do it, they just don't want to do how, they just don't know how and which product to choose for which initiative.
Yeah.
How can you reduce this complexity for hotels?
I think it's such a good question. So as I started by saying, Ulli, we are a two-sided marketplace, right? So one of our objectives is ensuring that hotels are able to achieve their outcomes. They're able to find somebody to be in their room and have that room occupied to the best of the ability, but at the same time, to also generate I would say continued interest from that traveler. So person comes, stays. How do you ensure this person continues to come back to your property and engage, right? So there are multiple goals here of getting that customer and then engaging that customer for the longer term. So I would say because of that, these different models actually allow us to experiment with different consumer segments and achieve these goals for the hotels, right? So certain consumer types or traveler types actually want those discounts, whether it's Dining Plus on our restaurant side or Trip Plus on the hotel side. They want to know that, hey, I'm getting a special deal. I am actually one of those specific segments that are able to get deals that other people aren't. So we want to engage that consumer. Others are frankly just looking for a best price and they don't really care about a lot of things. So if the consumer's in a variety of places, you want to make sure that you're also reaching them. So that's the result. Having said that, it's a fair call out that we probably need to simplify the messaging and allow our hotel partners to actually benefit from the different products. So that's more to come on that front.
And the technical management of those products for hotels, which is sometimes challenging. I see similar trends, Sherin, at Trivago, right? Because you also, historically, you were a very clean platform, cost per click, MetaSearch, that's it. At some point, you started also adding product. It felt a little bit like a deja vu with TripAdvisor, with adding Trivago Pro, and then at some point even display advertising. So it's also there. So there's a range of products available for hotels. Maybe you can quickly run us through them, and then also give a little bit of your view. Okay, is this becoming more? Or are you going back to a more reduced and simple version? So what's the plan there on Trivago side?
Right. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, the fundamental value proposition of Trivago hasn't changed over the years. So we're helping travelers find the ideal hotel at the best price. And around that value proposition, we obviously also work with partners, OTAs, hotels alike. And there are different products, so one product that we introduced, or a different way of participating in the marketplace, is CPA, and that came during the pandemic, where we tried to assume cost per acquisition. So it's basically a commission that hotels would pay rather than paying a CPC. CPC bidding has become increasingly complex and to manage especially for chains, I would say, and individual hotels. You need a lot of data intelligence. There are so many bidding dimensions that you have to bid on in order to stay competitive. So with the introduction of CPA, we're trying to help everybody participate in the marketplace and be able to compete side by side with the CPC players, so the big OTAs. So
when did you introduce CPA? That was just recently, right?
That was roughly 2 years ago during the pandemic. In order to
but the also including the cancellation bookings that has been
right? Around, I think, at least a year, if not longer, I would say. Yeah. So yes, assuming the cancellation risk. So hotels can choose whether they want to be on a CPC or a CPA. So it's those two options. The Pro that you were referring to is a static listing, so without prices. So it's basically just for those hotels that potentially don't have connectivity or don't even have a booking engine. I mean, that's still a real problem. Some hotels on their own website just have a form, or you can call them. So for those hotels, there's the option to participate in Pro, which allows them to basically list their website link, their phone number, maybe put a special offer in. But we're actually retiring that product, so we're not renewing it. So it's very focused, actually, as you said, and display ads is also something that we introduced and then quickly found out that actually we would need to put a lot more resources into it in order to make it a valuable product, and that was aiming more towards DMOs. So no, we're actually now saying focus on the core product. As you've seen from the previous speakers, I think that recovery is sort of ending, unfortunately, or at least there are strong headwinds when it comes to the economic situation. Inflation is on the rise. A lot of consumers are probably waiting for their energy bills to arrive before they make any decision on travel plans. So there's going to be rising cost consciousness of users. So I think meta sites in that sense, and especially Trivago, are very well positioned in that coming phase where users are going to be looking for the best price. Yeah, they're going to be highly price sensitive. And that's where Meta is a great resource for them.
Relevant, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Nico, Google, when I thought back 5 to 6 years, and I remember because we've been having these ongoing discussions, I looked at the product, I looked at Trivago, TripAdvisor, which at that time were much bigger than Google from a traffic perspective and a conversion perspective. And I always thought, and when I had guys like you on stage from Trivago, I remember, and also TripAdvisor, that you always said, we're staying ahead of Google because we are vertical experts and Google is not. And I saw Google was struggling with that vertical from a product perspective. 5 years later, you learned your lesson, your product developed, so what did you do better?
Well, I can start by saying I'm not an industry veteran myself, so I have been 4 years in a travel-specific role. I think the role of Google in this space is we see ourselves as a connector, and we only succeed when our partners succeed, some of which are on stage with me, and I'm glad that we can share through this panel. So we have both to attend to users' expectations and partners and customers' expectations, right? So the first duty and the first responsibility as a search engine is to provide information. So, for example, during COVID, people turned to Google every day to see if there was spikes in the area or what measures to account for. So that's something we always bear in mind. We before the advertising products, which makes the most of the revenue we do, we need to care for the users. And we've seen the shift in users' expectations and behaviors over COVID. So I think Christophe mentioned, for example, people turning to social platforms more and more to consume travel before they actually plan for it. And so that's, especially with global youth audiences, we've seen this a lot. So we need to take that into account in the way we approach the
It's
needs.
also a threat for Google, right, in a way?
I see that as an opportunity. For example, when we see things to do, queries have been sixfold bigger since the pandemic. So that's something we need to attend to, and we launched recently Things to Do as a product to care for those needs. Same for vacation rental, where we recently invested also in vacation rental to serve also the supply that our partners are willing to distribute through Google. So I would say, as a company, we also need to be super nimble and agile, especially in a vertical approach as travel. Same for shopping or geo and other verticals we attend to. So that's how we see it. And I hope we can serve both our partners' interest by providing different sets of tools to reduce complexity. To the point you raised, we recently launched a Performance Max campaign. So it's a campaign type that powered by AI that can basically collect and aggregate the different assets, including images, bids, and all the signals we could use to create a simple vertical hotel ads campaign or a hotel-specific campaign using what you know best through search, for example. So that's another example of how we approach the complexity of the user journeys and the shift in those, and reducing the complexity for our partners and customers.
But in the end, it stays within the business model of price comparison within the Google Hotel Ads product. It stays within price comparison, click-out model. Of course, in combination CPC, CPA, you have a lot of options there. You sunsetted Book on Google, right? So apparently the booking option has gone. So is that the direction Google will follow further? And maybe then, let's say, let me come up with some potential ideas, maybe working on a merge between vacation rental and hotel, make that user flow, merging Google Ads and Google Hotel Ads, so the keyword advertising and the hotel ads. So can you give us a bit of a peek view? What's coming up?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your very specific.
I'm trying to sneak.
question.
It's always hard as a public company to talk about that.
No, absolutely not. So, for example, and thank you for the question. For example, vacation rental and hotel queries are served through the same immersive experience. So the travel pages of Google search. So that's an example of where we can also simplify user journeys to provide all the accommodation types or lodging options that you can have. We also discovered that a lot of the traffic, we always provide traffic out. So Book on Google was, yes, an experience that was hosted on Google, but the merchant of record was still the partner, the payment company was still the payment provider, and ultimately we only facilitated the experience to remove friction. But we've actually discovered through this pilot and this phase of experimenting this product that it was not really serving the needs of our customers the best way. So we basically reverted back to the regular model we've always used and we're going to continue to use, which is providing traffic, basically, being a connector between users and hotels ultimately. So one thing that I think is very interesting is I think you referred to it, Nonita, the importance of content, not only bookable content, but also discovery and non-bookable content. For example, we introduced a filter to search by eco-certified attributes recently. And that's a very big concern from a lot of audiences today to travel responsibly, right? So,
I think TripAdvisor introduced Travel Safe, right? Where you could, with Corona and Corona-specific stuff, I think having that messaging is quite important now.
And that, totally. And I think there's the response, which is you can read the response rather quickly, right? For Travel Safe, we saw a click-through rate improvement of 16-17%. So hotels that were providing that information were also providing enough confidence to travelers to then go actually make that booking. So that's helpful.
And one question to you two guys. Obviously, when you see what happened over the last 3-4 years, and frankly speaking, I mean, we see it from my numbers or our numbers at Myhotelshop. Other providers see the same. So Google now is a bit of ahead. I think Google also have the disadvantage maybe of not being a vertical expert, but at the same time, like I said at the very beginning, you own the internet, right? So you own the search funnel almost, you could say. And it sounds like you're more concerned about the guys in the upper funnel, so the social players, rather than TripAdvisor and Trivago being behind you. But how do you guys deal with that now? So what's your plan to counteract? What is your plan to kick Google's ass?
Yeah, I can start kicking the ass. No, but I think, I mean, historically, Trivago wasn't that dependent on Google. Actually, a large chunk of our traffic was branded traffic, so coming directly to Trivago.
TV advertising.
And
the Trivago man.
Exactly.
The Trivago guys.
The Trivago guy, yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, we were blasting on TV. Sorry for that. No, I mean, during the pandemic, obviously, brand marketing went to zero, and so also with the marketing of other companies as well. So we're having to rebuild that top of mind brand awareness, but we're doing that in a financially disciplined way, so ROAS-driven way, and that will take some time. So, but yeah, building our brand awareness is definitely something that we will continue to do. And then it's focusing on our product and ensuring that this is the best price comparison out there. That is paramount for us. So with a very user-centric approach, looking at what we need to do in order to make this product better, and retaining customers so that they come back directly and not via the route of Google. So whether that's on web or app, that's...
I mean, one thing, and I know that Trivago is also, and I know that you potentially can't talk about a lot of this stuff because it's your public company again, we're on stage, but I know that also, obviously, Google has a big advantage, right? They own the search funnel and they can basically get free traffic into their own price comparison, while Trivago and TripAdvisor actually have to pay to Google to get the same traffic into their price comparison. And there are a lot of, but of course, I mean, you need to do something, you need to get traffic, and you need to counteract when it comes to marketing, product experience. But if nothing works, I guess legal is an option too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are steps already being taken by governments because they see that Google is a gatekeeper and is potentially abusing that gatekeeper position. And
you don't need to comment on that, Nico.
I will not provide an answer on these points, but thank you.
Yeah, but. I think legislation is on its way, and once it's in effect, we'll have to see how Google is going to react. But I think, you know, for everybody that works with Google, I think it's super important, and that's something that I would stress is not to fully depend on Google, because, you know, companies that depended in the past on SEO, for example, then a change happens, and then SEO traffic all of a sudden is gone. So. I think diversification and just ensuring that you're not just fully dependent on one player is key.
Fair point. Nonita.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer this in many different ways. I think Sherin covered a lot of the different aspects, but I think we have to focus on what we do well and continue building on that, right? So free traffic is always fantastic. We get that through the ways of the fact that we have a ton of user-generated and other content that's very meaningful. We have 1 billion reviews. We published a very, very compelling report on that, on how travelers and shoppers are using those reviews for their benefit to make better decisions. So I think we have to continue doubling down on that and making that content both easy to provide and relevant to travelers, but equally sifting through that and providing insights to our hotel partners to benefit from that. We have a lot of first-party data that is very, very insightful, very meaningful. So how do we continue to leverage that, both to generate traffic, to engage the traveler, to get them to the right outcomes, and also to help and enable our hotel partners to do better. On all of the other products, as I already mentioned, we have 70,000 hotels, for instance, leveraging Business Advantage. We want more people to leverage Business Advantage. So part of that challenge is, Ulli, something you mentioned, like, do we make it easy for our hotel partners to benefit from our products? I think we could do better.
But controversial again, because I think one of the biggest, let's call it a marketing stunt, but maybe I think it's much more than that, was that Google introduced a free booking link. While as a hotel, potentially I have to pay for a link on TripAdvisor. So is there any plan on adding? Because sometimes, I mean, when an idea is good, right, you can always copy it.
Yeah.
Is there any plans on that from a product perspective?
At the moment, not really. We have a lot of ability for hotels to leverage free, I would say, tools on TripAdvisor. The booking link is not one of them, right? But your contact details are obviously there and in a very prominent position. So some things other platforms might do, and I don't actually recall where Google embedded the free link, for instance, when they did. But sometimes they put the free content at a much lower octave, so you're below the fold. We don't do it that way. So I would say if a hotel is looking to engage with TripAdvisor and potentially leverage a lot of the free tooling before they do other things, there is a lot of ways to do that, right? So I'm happy to share that at the end of the session and leave with that. But frankly, come find me, right? If you are struggling as a hotel to figure out how to best leverage TripAdvisor and you're trying to phase your investment on the platform, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to connect you with the right folks, right? So we have a lot of ways to do that.
How many hotels did you actually add only because of the free booking link? Is this something you can share? How many new hotels were added on Google just because of the free booking link? Is this something you can disclose?
So free booking links is indeed something we've done with shopping before, right? To provide a travel or vertical specific experience through organic results. And that's part of a bigger effort right now at Google to build for partners big and small. Again, all the traffic we generate, we send it to partners ultimately. And the saying, we are only one click away from any other websites. And ultimately that's the point. We want to make sure that we are addressing all these steps in the user journey from discovery or higher up in the funnel to people with a strong intent to book, which is certainly a very successful way to provide qualified traffic. So I see my counterparts as more as partners myself, especially since I'm working and focusing a lot on connectivity and fostering a healthy ecosystem of partners to serve companies big and small in that regards, including OTAs, hotels, Meta, and all our technical partners. Also including. We have a nice case study, by the way, and coming back to your free booking links question, you've used it very smartly. You've used free booking links to infer demand to bid higher on some specific
on page,
So that's a great example, and the case study is available, released online on our partner pages these days. So that's a great example of the advantage of free booking links for anyone who wants to leverage this new source of traffic and be also able to market rates more smartly using hotel ads, for example, or regular search.
Cool. I see time is up. Sebastian,
that was quick.
Are you asking questions from the audience, or can any question to those three guys that you have? Because I don't know how much time we ultimately really have, but do you throw us off stage? We have 5 more minutes. So any questions from the audience? Anything
the microphone is ready.
Yeah, the microphone is ready. Because obviously my personal topic that I always have is obviously individual hotels, right? So and also that the whole strategy on individual hotels in Europe slightly different than in the US, right? Because in Europe, I know in this room we mainly have chains, but we also have a lot of tech providers, and also dealing with a lot of difficulties that we face on connectivity side specifically. So what's a little bit the plan to grow more on the individual spaces? Because I know on TripAdvisor you grew big through TripAdvisor Business Advantage. Trivago hired hundreds of people to call hotels. So what's let's say the one or two small things or things you're going to do in the very near future to actually is long tail still relevant? Are individual hotels still relevant, or is it
super relevant still?
Yeah?
Definitely. And I mean, we're connected to most of the IBEs and tech providers out there already, and we see it more now, and actually always have as a joint effort with those partners to get those hotels on board. So just Trivago doing it on its own with the sales force is cumbersome. We want to work closely with the tech providers and ensure we get as many hotels as possible live. We're also therefore making it easier with CPA, for example. And we're also working front-end-wise to highlight the direct website more. So we'll be experimenting there with different, a different layout.
So maybe
that
also a free booking link.
So we're not the internet as Google is, so we don't get our traffic for free, unfortunately. That makes it a bit more difficult. And also to be fair, with the free booking links, the prominence of those is quite low. So if you actually do want to get the traffic, you have to pay for it on Google as well.
15 to 20%.
So, yeah.
Read our case study that we did with Google. There you go. I think, Nonita, at TripAdvisor, you still don't have CPA for hotels, right? Or is this something on the agenda, or is something on the roadmap that hotels can also choose a CPA rather than a CPA model?
Not at the moment is probably the simplest answer. So we are always reviewing what makes sense. It hasn't really, we have experimented with that in the past in a small way, and I don't think it has necessarily been fruitful. So we will continue figuring out if there are other ways that we can help drive engagement. But that is not something that I can imminently see happening on the roadmap. I think more broadly, as anybody who's known TripAdvisor would know, we have a very, very strong focus on hotels per se, the entire ecosystem. And for example, in the US, 90% of the hotels are within large chains or chains broadly. Europe is the flip of that, right? So 90% are independent hotels. And as everybody knows, we tweaked our business model specifically to engage with the independent hotels in Europe. And now, more recently, we've also shifted, I would say, a European focus or headquarters, or whatever you want to call it. We have a presence in the UK, but we've consolidated our sales efforts in Barcelona. So that should really bring us closer to the hotels, to the partners that sit between a lot of the independent properties and TripAdvisor. We, similar to what Sherin said, work with the ecosystem. We want to make sure that we are accessible to every single property. And then I think what we could experiment more on and plan to is how do we make TripAdvisor solutions more accessible if somebody is trying to find it on their own, right? So that whole self-service motion, which traditionally we have not doubled down on, we want to. We want to tell our story in a better way so that we can reach every single hotel, whether it's directly through a partner, through a larger entity, through any way that you can find us, we want you on the platform. Or through your platform,
yeah. Nico, I know it's only 10 seconds, but still, the last sentence.
That's a challenge, but thank you for the notice. Again, we very much want to care for all the businesses of all sizes. Two words. One is we engage those hotels mostly through our partners, tech partners, and intermediaries or aggregators. So we want to continue fostering these relationships, and most of you are in the room, so happy to do that. And I hear a lot of feedback already on how to do that better. There's connectivity and there's marketing, and I think on both sides we also have different initiatives. For example, reaching out via DMO and associations to also engage with hotel at scale. We want to partake in that. And on connectivity, we offer new ways to connect directly or indirectly. That's also one aspect to make sure that even if you're not tech savvy or sophisticated, you can access Google, and then you would benefit from free booking lists and eventually marketing your rates more easily as well.
And potentially dissolving the problem of hotels being taken hostage from connectivity. But that's a longer story for another 20 minutes on stage, because obviously several hotels are really bound to their own connectivity provider. And sometimes if they don't want to go live via them, they have no other option. And that's also something potentially to be solved and to be discussed on stage when we meet again. Thanks a lot for coming, and thanks a lot for being so open. I know it's not always easy as public companies, as I said. And I think you left out you brought in some very interesting information. So a lot of new stuff for me. Thanks a lot. And I think we're done. No more questions? Good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.